No one tells you this directly, no one warns you. But every self-taught man learns it the hard way. No one is coming, not a mentor, not a system, not a moment of recognition that suddenly makes the struggle fair. The world does not reward potential, it barely acknowledges effort. Most men spend years waiting for a signal that they matter. They mistake patience for virtue. But waiting is not neutral. Waiting is a form of surrender disguised as hope. Machiavelli's words cut through this illusion. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The world judges surfaces. It always has. It always will. But the self-taught elite understands something others don't, that invisibility is not a curse. It's cover. Think about it. When was the last time you were praised for effort alone? When was the last time someone recognized potential before results? It doesn't happen. The world rewards output, not input, results, not intentions. The self-taught man becomes elite the moment he accepts abandonment as a permanent condition, not a temporary phase. Permanent. When you stop expecting rescue, your behavior changes. You stop performing for an audience that never planned to applaud. You stop explaining your intentions. You stop pacing your growth to fit into social timelines. This is where the long game begins. Not with ambition, not with strategy, not even with discipline. It begins with the removal of illusion. In this video, I'll show you 7 Machiavellian mind tricks that every self-taught elite uses to win the long game invisibly, quietly, and inevitably. These are not shortcuts. They are not hacks. They are fundamental shifts in how you see yourself, your work, and your relationship with the world. Number 1. Use invisibility as armor. Being ignored is not an error in the system. It is the system. Most men experience this as rejection. They react emotionally. They rush. They overexpose themselves. They chase visibility like oxygen because being unseen feels like social death. But visibility is not safety. It is exposure. It invites judgment, competition, and interruption before strength has solidified. Consider the seedling. Does it grow better in open ground where every animal can trample it, or does it grow better in cover, protected, hidden, until its roots are deep enough to withstand pressure? Nature itself teaches us this lesson. The strongest oaks grow in forests where they compete for light, not in open fields where they're exposed to every storm. The most powerful creatures in the animal kingdom don't announce their presence. They move silently, unseen, until the moment of action. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. He wasn't just observing human nature, he was handing you a strategy. The self-taught elite reframes obscurity as cover. When no one is watching, mistakes are cheap. Learning accelerates. Weak methods can be discarded without reputation loss. There is a specific kind of freedom that only exists in anonymity. You can rebuild yourself without witnesses. You can experiment without consequences. While others measure progress through likes, titles, and public milestones, the self-taught elite measures progress through internal alignment. He doesn't need external validation to know he's moving forward. He feels it. He sees it in his own capabilities. He knows that anything rushed into the light too early becomes fragile. Attention freezes behavior. Once people expect a version of you, deviation becomes costly. You become trapped by their expectations. Think about any artist, athlete, or entrepreneur who reached the top. You know how many failed experiments happened before they found what worked. Of course you don't, because those failures happened in obscurity. The world only sees the finished product. It never sees the drafts, the false starts, the dead ends. It never sees the thousands of hours of practice that happened in empty rooms, in garages, in basements, invisible to everyone. Obscurity keeps you fluid. It allows evolution, and evolution, not exposure, is what survives time. This is the first mind trick. Use invisibility as armor. Let them underestimate you. Let them ignore you. Let them forget you exist. While they're busy with their visible games, you're building something that will outlast them all. Number 2, distrust applause. Most men sabotage this phase because they crave validation. They call it motivation, but it is dependency. Praise is a short-term stimulant that quietly rewires priorities. Once you taste approval, behavior shifts toward repetition rather than improvement. You begin optimizing for reaction instead of leverage. Think about the last time you received public praise for something. What happened next? If you're like most people, you tried to do it again. You repeated the behavior that got the applause. Not because it was the best move, but because it felt good. This is the trap. Praise creates momentum, but it's momentum toward the past, toward what already worked, toward what's already been seen. It locks you into a pattern that may have nothing to do with where you need to go. Machiavelli warned about this. He wrote, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone ready to be deceived." The first person you deceive is yourself. You tell yourself you're seeking feedback. In reality, you're seeking reassurance. You want someone to tell you that you're on the right track, that your effort matters, that you're not wasting your time. Validation narrows strategy. It locks you into patterns that are legible and comfortable to others. When you're performing for applause, you're not innovating, you're repeating. You're giving people what they already know they want, not what they'll need 5 years from now. The self-taught elite understands this early and treats praise with suspicion. Silence becomes his primary feedback mechanism. If a skill still works when no one is impressed, it is real. If progress continues without acknowledgement, it is stable. If you're still moving forward when the spotlight is off, you've built something that can survive. External approval is loud but shallow. It fades quickly and leaves behind confusion about direction. Internal standards are quiet but cumulative. They do not care whether the world agrees yet. This is uncomfortable because silence feels like stagnation to the untrained mind. But silence is not emptiness, it is compression. Pressure is building. Consider the diamond. It forms under pressure in darkness for millions of years. No one applauds during the process. No one checks in to see how it's coming along. No one encourages it. But when it finally emerges, it cuts through everything. The same is true for you. The work that matters most will happen when no one is watching. The skills that will define your future will be built in silence. The compound interest of your effort will accumulate invisibly. This is the second mind trick. Distrust applause. Trust only what works in silence. Let go of the need for external validation. Let your internal standards be your guide. Because when you're addicted to praise, you become a performer. When you're indifferent to it, you become a force. Number 3. Prioritize timing over speed. Most men mistake speed for seriousness. They believe urgency signals importance. That movement itself creates momentum. In reality, urgency is often social anxiety wearing the costume of ambition. Men rush because others are moving. They compare timelines. They fear being left behind in narratives they did not choose. Look around you. How many people are running in directions they never consciously chose? They're chasing trends, following paths laid out by others, measuring themselves against arbitrary milestones. They're moving fast, but they're not moving toward anything meaningful. The self-taught elite refuses borrowed urgency. He operates on internal clocks that feel almost antisocial. Machiavelli observed, "Fortune is a woman, and to keep her under control, it is necessary to treat her roughly." This isn't about rushing, it's about decisiveness when the moment is right. It's about recognizing that not all moments are equal. Some moments are ripe for action. Others require patience. Time is not a resource to be spent. It is a position to be occupied. Acting too early exposes weaknesses that time could have resolved quietly. Moving slowly is not passive. It is selective. It is the discipline of waiting until leverage exists. Speed impresses crowds. Timing outlasts them. Think about the greatest military commanders in history. They didn't win by charging first. They won by waiting for the right terrain, the right weather, and the right moment when the enemy was weak. Napoleon didn't win at Austerlitz by rushing. He waited for the sun to rise, for the ice to melt, for the enemy to commit to a fatal mistake. His patience wasn't weakness, it was strategy. The same applies to your life. There are moments when action is required, and there are moments when inaction is the most powerful move you can make. Knowing the difference is wisdom. The long-term game is not about doing more faster. It is about doing fewer things at the right moment when reversal is unlikely. Most men can't do this. The waiting feels like dying. Their identity is tied to motion, to progress, to visible forward movement. When they stop moving, they feel like they're disappearing. But the self-taught elite knows that disappearance is not death, it is repositioning. Think about the predator. Does it chase every animal it sees? No, it waits, it watches, it studies. It chooses the right moment, the right target, and the right angle. Then it strikes once, and the strike is final. Speed without timing is just noise. It burns energy without creating results. It gives the appearance of progress without the substance. This is the third mind trick. Speed is for show. Timing is for power. Learn to wait. Learn to recognize the right moment. And when that moment comes, act decisively, not because you're rushing, but because you're ready. Number 4. Trade warmth for stability. As this mindset deepens, something else hardens. Emotional comfort becomes a liability. Long-term strategy cannot coexist with the need to feel good in the short term. Attachment clouds judgment. The desire to belong introduces negotiation into decisions that should be clean. Most men are compromised not by external enemies, but by internal cravings, for approval, for reassurance, and for social warmth. They make decisions based on how they'll feel tomorrow morning, not on where they'll be in 5 years. They choose the path of least emotional resistance, not the path of greatest strategic advantage. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if one cannot be both." He wasn't talking about tyranny. He was talking about respect, about not needing others to feel good about yourself. The self-taught elite does not eliminate emotion. He disciplines it. He learns to tolerate emotional coldness without collapsing into resentment or fantasy. This is where many turn back. Detachment feels lonely. It strips away narratives that once made effort feel noble. When you stop needing to be liked, you lose something. You lose the warmth of easy connection. You lose the comfort of belonging. You lose the reassurance that comes from fitting in. But clarity replaces comfort. Choices become quieter and more precise. You stop asking whether this will make you liked. You ask whether this will hold under pressure. Think about the people who have achieved something lasting. Are they the ones who sought approval? Are they the ones who needed to be liked? No. They're the ones who were willing to stand alone, to be misunderstood, to be disliked because they were pursuing something that mattered more than social comfort. The trade is brutal and permanent. Warmth is replaced with stability. Belonging is replaced with position. Think of a tree in a storm. The ones with deep roots survive. The ones that grew fast, reaching for sunlight without anchoring themselves, snap and fall. Emotional discipline is the root system. It's not visible, it's not glamorous, but when the storm comes, it's the only thing that matters. And once that shift occurs, there is no return to naive motivation. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel what you've felt. This doesn't mean you become cold or heartless. It means you become selective. You reserve your emotional energy for what truly matters. You stop wasting it on people and situations that don't deserve it. The self-taught elite understands that emotional energy is finite. Every time you get angry, anxious, or excited about something that doesn't matter, you're draining resources you could have used for your mission. This is the fourth mind trick. Trade warmth for stability. Trade belonging for position. Let go of the need to be liked. Let go of the need to fit in. Let go of the need for emotional comfort. Replace them with clarity, with purpose, with the quiet satisfaction of knowing you're on the right path, even if you're walking it alone. Number 5. Exit the arena. There comes a point where competition itself begins to look primitive. Most men stay trapped inside it without realizing they chose the arena. Status anxiety keeps them performing even when no one is watching. They speak louder than necessary. They signal competence too early. They defend positions that were never strategic to begin with. They feel observed even in isolation, as if an invisible jury is always present, judging their every move, waiting for them to fail. The self-taught elite notices this surveillance and steps outside it. Not dramatically. He stops reacting to rank. He stops measuring himself against men playing shorter games. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise prince should rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others." The moment you exit the arena, the rules stop applying. You are no longer required to prove momentum, display confidence, or justify pacing. Performance gives way to positioning, while others exhaust themselves maintaining an image. Think about the difference between an actor and a director. The actor performs, the director positions. The actor needs applause. The director needs vision. The actor's success depends on the audience. The director's success depends on the overall picture. Most men are actors. They're on stage, performing for an audience that may or may not exist. They're trapped in the game because they don't know how to leave. The self-taught elite reallocates energy toward asymmetry. He builds where comparison cannot reach. This is unsettling because it feels like disappearing. But disappearance is the cost of independence. And independence is the precondition for long-term dominance. When you exit the arena, you don't disappear from reality, you disappear from the game. And that's exactly where you need to be. Think about the most powerful people you know. Are they constantly competing? Are they always comparing themselves to others? No, they've transcended competition. They're playing a different game entirely. The self-taught elite understands that competition is a trap. When you compete, you're accepting someone else's definition of success. You're playing by their rules, on their field, with their metrics. Real power comes from defining your own game, from building something that can't be compared, from creating value that has no existing category. This requires exiting the arena. It requires letting go of the need to win at games others have created. It requires the courage to be misunderstood, to be ignored, to be seen as irrelevant, until suddenly you're not. This is the fifth mind trick. Exit the arena. Build where comparison cannot reach. Stop competing. Start creating. Start performing. Stop trying to win someone else's game. Start designing your own. Number 6. Invest where outcomes are delayed. With distance established, attention shifts toward places most men ignore. Crowds chase visible rewards because visibility feels like certainty. Public metrics create the illusion of safety. The self-taught elite invests where outcomes are delayed and misunderstood. He studies systems that take years to mature. He builds skills that do not photograph well, that cannot be summarized quickly, and that offer no immediate status return. This is not patience as a virtue, it is patience as a strategy. Compounding does not announce itself early. It works quietly, indifferent to recognition. By the time results surface, the environment has already shifted. New entrants arrive late, assuming luck where there was only accumulation. Think about compound interest. In the early years, it's invisible. The curve is flat. Nothing seems to be happening. You put money in and it just sits there. Year after year, the balance barely moves. Then something shifts. The curve turns upward, slowly at first, then faster. Suddenly, the growth becomes explosive, but that explosion was years in the making. It was the result of patience, of consistency, of trusting the process when there was no visible proof. Most people quit during the flat part. They can't see progress. They can't feel momentum. They assume nothing is happening. They abandon the investment just before it would have paid off. The self-taught elite knows this pattern. He's seen it play out in every field. The first 5 years are invisible. The next 5 years are undeniable. Most people can't handle the first 5 years. Machiavelli would recognize this as the fox's wisdom. The ability to see traps before they're sprung, to position yourself where others cannot see. The self-taught elite chooses paths that filter out the impatient by design. Scarcity of competitors is not accidental. It is engineered through time. When you choose a path that takes 10 years to mature, you automatically eliminate everyone who can't think past next quarter. You're not competing anymore. You're just waiting for time to do its work. Think about the skills that matter most. Can they be learned in a weekend, in a month, in a year? The most valuable skills take years to develop, and that's exactly why they're valuable. The time investment itself creates scarcity. The self-taught elite invests in things that appreciate over time, not just money, knowledge, reputation, relationships, capabilities. He understands that the most valuable assets are those that compound invisibly. This is the sixth mind trick. Invest where outcomes are delayed. Let time filter the impatient. Let the years do what effort alone cannot. Trust that what's building in silence will eventually become undeniable. Number 7. Kill the need for status. Eventually, the pursuit of status itself collapses. Not because it was achieved, but because it no longer holds leverage. Desire fades before recognition appears. This is the final inversion of the long game. Most men believe success will bring detachment. They think, once I achieve enough, I'll stop caring what people think. But that's backwards. Detachment is not the result of success. It's the precondition for it. The self-taught elite stops needing proof before the world offers it. He doesn't need the title to know he's competent. He doesn't need the applause to know he's valuable. He doesn't need the recognition to keep going. Control replaces craving. Indifference replaces hunger. Think about the people you admire most. Do they seem desperate for approval? Do they chase status? Do they need you to validate them? No. They've transcended all of that. They operate from a different place entirely. They're not trying to prove anything. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're simply doing what they do because it's who they are. Machiavelli wrote his greatest work in exile, stripped of status, forgotten by the world. And in that silence, he became immortal. By the time attention arrives, it feels irrelevant, not because it lacks value, but because dependence is gone. This is the quiet endpoint. The elite position is not announced. It is felt in optionality, in timing control, and in the absence of urgency. When you no longer need the prize, you become impossible to manipulate. You can't be bought with offers. You can't be threatened with exclusion. You can't be moved by what others think. Think about the power of not needing. When you don't need a job, you negotiate from strength. When you don't need a relationship, you choose from clarity. When you don't need status, you operate from freedom. The long-term game does not reward those who endure the longest while hoping. It rewards those who let go early and continue anyway. Power arrives last after the need for it has already died. This is the paradox. The moment you stop caring about status, status starts caring about you. The moment you stop chasing recognition, recognition starts chasing you. The moment you stop needing power, power starts flowing toward you. Why? Because you're no longer desperate, and desperation repels. People can sense when you need something from them. They can feel your hunger, and it makes them wary. But when you're indifferent, when you're complete in yourself, when you don't need anything from anyone, that's when people want to be around you. That's when opportunities appear. That's when power arrives. This is the 7th mind trick. Kill the need for status. Let power arrive on its own. Stop chasing. Start attracting. Stop needing. Start being. 7 shifts in perception. Use invisibility as armor. Distrust applause. Prioritize timing over speed. Trade warmth for stability. Exit the arena. Invest where outcomes are delayed. Kill the need for status. These are not secrets you'll find in a book. They are not hacks you can download. They are not techniques you can apply overnight. They are earned through the long game, through years of building without witnesses, without applause, without permission. Think about what you've just heard. Each of these mind tricks challenges something fundamental about how most people operate. Each one requires you to let go of something comfortable in exchange for something powerful. That's why so few people make it. The trade is too painful, the waiting is too long, the silence is too loud, but you're still here, you've made it this far. That means something. Machiavelli understood this path. He walked it himself. He wrote his philosophy in exile, stripped of status, forgotten by the world, and those words outlasted every empire that tried to silence him. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The self-taught elite is not born, he is built, slowly, quietly, invisibly, until one day the structure is complete and no one saw it coming. Think about what you're building right now. Are you building for applause, or are you building for permanence? Are you optimizing for reaction or for leverage? The answers to these questions will determine everything. The world will try to pull you into its games. It will offer you status, approval, belonging, all in exchange for your autonomy. Don't take the deal. Stay in the dark. Keep building. Let time do its work. If this video changed how you see the game, drop a comment. I play the long game. Subscribe to Machiavelli for more dark psychology, power dynamics, and the art of becoming undeniable. The path is quiet, the work is unseen, but the results inevitable.